What was life like prior to Jesus?
You want to go first?
So not bad in the world sense. Met a beautiful woman. Job was great, working hard. Money was the focus, career advancement, and doing very well for myself. But then there was a certain degree of longing. I always had Jesus in, there's a phrase where Jesus knocks on the door, if you open, he will come in.
Yeah.
I always figured that he was in the living room, but I was in the kitchen. It's like Simon the Pharisee, he's out busy trying to do everything when my focus should have been Jesus all along. And, it took a while for me to realize that.
Yeah, for me, I think it was ups and downs. When things were good, it was just great. I think both of us were very bright and we studied hard and we got good careers and we were in love. But when things were bad in my life, even before meeting Tom, it was just really difficult. And I feel like I was just struggling to just hang in there and just walk on my own. And then once we were married and then we had a beautiful child, then we had to struggle with infertility. And then that was hard again.
That was a throwaway question.
No, it wasn't. No. All right, so our next question. What do you think drives your faith? And why do you seek after God? What's the purpose of it?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
To me is at some point in time in my life, around the time I was 36, 37, I found him. And I was not necessarily looking for him, but when I realized what that world with him in it was like, I just realized that I couldn't do it without him. So to me, I know he's my creator. That's why I have a relationship with him. And I just don't ever want to experience life without him. I don't want to do it on my own anymore.
Again, I always had Jesus in the background, but as I got older and a little bit more mature and realized the importance of a personal relationship, once you kind of cross that threshold, you realize how important it is for us as humans, as people, to embrace and to do our best. And we fail constantly, but in spite of all that failure, to grow and to be closer to Jesus on a personal level.
I do, and I guess it's not in a very expected way, because after we had our son and then we struggled, trying to get pregnant again, we started doing fertility treatments, but we were now going to church and we were having God be part of this trial that we were facing. And I was really putting all my hope on those fertility treatments and hoping, that also God would make it happen and that we would be able to get pregnant again and have another child. I was probably a little obsessed with that. And funny enough, in one of the fertility treatments that we did, it was like the last one that I could do. And I was just so hopeful and so wishing that this would finally happen. And then I went to church and I was praying about it. And I went to church, and that day the pastor talked about the prayers that you have and that you pray to God. And he said there's 3 possible answers. One is yes, one is no, and one is not yet. But throughout that service, I just felt like he was talking to me. And it was just, my attitude completely changed. Because after that, I remember that message. I said, if it doesn't happen, it's because it's his will. And I need to just be at peace with it and just do his will. And at the end of the day, I did not get pregnant. So far we only have one child. And finally, I just found peace in that. And I know that that was his answer to that prayer.
Nice.
I have a very distinct yes. A lot of no's and not yets, but one very distinct yes when I was 17 years old. And it's an immediate response. I was on a canoe trip, and one thing led to another, and I was actually pinned between the canoe and a tree stump, and another canoe in front of the tree stump, quite literally being crushed alive. And there was I was 17 years old in a youth group, and one of the counselors was jumping on the canoes trying to dislodge the canoe. He couldn't do anything, and I've always been working out and fairly strong. I could not move. My hand was trapped. My leg felt like it was going to snap off, and I was being crushed alive. And in a moment of clarity, I said, God, I can't do anything. Please help. The next thing I know, I don't remember anything between that moment, that prayer, and my next thought is I was on top of the tree stump.
Oh.
No memory of the in between. So I don't know what he did, but he answered my prayer.
That's pretty absolute.
So there's no question in my mind that he had an immediate and direct response to help me.
All right. That kind of gives you chills a little bit, right?
Yeah, it still gets me choked up.
Serious.
I don't think we can grasp what that infinite is. And it's not just, a point in time, it is forever. A level of happiness and joy. I always thought it's like, oh, wow. I mean, an eternity of just going, oh, yay, Jesus, that seems boring in a certain regard to me. But you can't grasp how much joy there will be up in heaven.
Yeah, I think, there's a part in the Bible that says no suffering anymore. And I think it's no suffering, no worrying, complete peace. Not even looking back, because the past doesn't matter anymore. You are where you're supposed to be, and you are where you were striving to be, and when you're destined to be which is with your Creator. So to me, it's like, of course, if I try to imagine what heaven will be like, I mean, you maybe think of the ocean, or you think of a beautiful sunset, but nothing can be compared to what that's going to be like. So I don't think we can even fathom what it's going to be like.
I mean, Jesus said, my house, my Father's house has many rooms, and we built a place for you. So they're building something for us. Yeah. And we're not going to be up there just sitting there twiddling our thumbs. I think we're all going to have jobs and stuff to do, whether it's traveling the universe and sightseeing. I don't know. I kind of view life as a job interview. And it's one, you got to get hired, right? That's accepting Jesus. And then two, your faith is validated in your works. And so you can't just sit back and do nothing. You have to exercise your faith and work on your faith. And that earns you whatever it is that God has in store for you. Well, I think to doubt is normal, right? And God understands it and expects it. We're only human, and I keep saying that. But so to doubt is okay, but you need to understand and to validate your right. So investigate. Is the universe random or by design? Okay, since it's by design, randomness causes chaos, not order, and there's order. Okay, so if there's God, then the question is Jesus God? Well, there's so much evidence that Jesus rose from the dead. That's pretty much proof that he's God. So if Jesus is God, since Jesus is God, you kind of want to do what he says, right? And so, yes, I have doubt. Okay, should I behave this way? Should I act that way? What about my sin? And there's all these things, which is perfectly normal exercise to have. But it's always striving to be more like Jesus. Once you accept the fact that Jesus is Lord and Savior, and you accept him into your heart, yes, you can have doubts. Again, I've got tactile, I've got a relationship. It's not delusion, right? I'm not deluding myself. My hope is not in this world. There's an overwhelming lack of hope in this world. And my hope is not based in a delusion. It's tactile, it's real.
Yeah. I think for me, even though that is a very, very strong point, how do you believe on something that you can't see, that you can't touch? But at the end of the day, I think if you open your eyes, you can see so much of his masterpiece creation. Like I remember the day that we went to the Grand Canyon, and we actually did a tour and a hike, and they were talking, the guide was talking about all these, how many millions of years it took for the Grand Canyon to form. And all I could think of was, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm looking at this beauty, and I can only see God in all this creation. Like I was just dumbfounded by that beauty. And I was like, that is God. There's no other way, And again, together with that, I compare some of the experiences I have had or stories I have heard from friends that just really show you that he's there. That there's sometimes people hear him talk. Sometimes he opens doors that he only could open, that there's no way that they could happen without him. So to me, that's what just keeps me going. It's just seeing how he acts in other people's lives and in my own life. When I first was saved, my favorite verse was Jeremiah 29:11. It was the first verse that I heard that just made me shiver and think, okay, he has a plan for me. I am in his plans, and his plans are for good, and they're not for evil. And he's trying to give me a hope and a future. And that has been a favorite verse of mine. But then through some of the trials I have lived as a Christian, because of course you will still go through trials, I have Philippians 4:3-9, but it's the one that starts saying, rejoice. I will say it again, rejoice. And then it goes further to say, just put your requests, in God's hands with thanksgiving, which is, I think when we're going through trials, we forget to give thanksgiving for everything that he has given us, how he has taken us through past trials to where we are now. And then it says, and the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will inhabit in your, in your thoughts and your minds. So that one to me is a very special one.
So I think a lot of people refer to the Bible in a nutshell as John 3:16. So God gave the love of the world, gave his only begotten Son. I actually like John 14:6, which is when Jesus would ask us, hey, we don't know where you're going. How do we follow you? Or what is the way? And Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And I think that is a sense of urgency and importance on the fact that being good is not good enough. Being a good person in an XY faith or religion or whatever is not good enough. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. So it just sort of, really emphasizes the fact that it's Jesus or not. It actually have to, there's so many different nuances of why don't they believe? Is it absolute atheism? Is it, I can't believe why a good God would allow so much evil? There's so many things, but I guess if we had to say, there's so much lack of hope right now in society, whether the COVID, the political turmoil, you name it, there's just so much angst, vitriol, and just an overwhelming lack of hope. Look to Jesus, and you will find it. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. I'm not going to say the road is going to be, flowers, rainbows, and unicorns. It's not. It's tough. But there's hope, and that hope is Jesus.
I think what I would tell an unbeliever is, what do you have to lose? Just give it a try, and see for yourself. Because I can sit here and tell you all day what he's done for me, But until you try it and you experience His love and His mercy, you can't understand what it's like to live your life in a relationship with Jesus Christ than not to have Him. And that's, when we started this interview, I said, I never want to do this on my own anymore. Why? Because I have known Him now, and I have understood how much He loves me, how much He cares for me. And with Him, there's nothing that can be against me. And that's just such an amazing thing that's what I would say to believers, just give Him a try.